the residues will be observed in the food that we eat. Luckily, we just buy food from the market without know how we can test the residues. We are consuming chemicals because that chemicals apply will be absorbed by the plants, and the product of the plant will absorb that residues. So when we are eating it, we are eating chemicals. Gradually, it will affect us. So, and this is the reason why most of the international community reject our produce, because they will test everything and they will see. Once they see the traces of these residues, if it's too high in the food, our food will be rejected. But unfortunately, most of us that go to market in the local market, we just buy food we eat without even minding what is there, or we are ignorant of what the food contains. So in good agricultural practices, we don't really support the dependence on the use of inorganic pesticide. When you do your work well, you carry out how you can sustain the nutrient in the soil, how you can plant at the right time to escape the life cycle of the pest. All these things, when you put together, you will apply little or no chemicals and you get your yield. So, but if you want to apply the chemical, it has to be applied in the right dosage. Don't overuse the chemical. And the time interval needs to be considered. Some people will apply chemical today, 2 weeks later they will still apply it because they want to kill all the pests. And by so doing, you are killing beneficial organisms too, and it will affect the product. So pesticide application need to be done right, apply at the right time, in the right dosage, and the time interval has to be approved, has to be in line with recommended rate, so that by the time the thing will degrade, because before the chemical can be used, even some chemicals, inorganic chemical, can stay up to 15 years in soil. So that is to tell you that inorganic chemical is very, very dangerous and need to be discouraged. Good agricultural practice doesn't support the use of inorganic chemicals always. We encourage integrated pest management. Integrated pest management, the cultural method, maybe the tillage, timely planting, the weeding, all those things need to be done in order to prevent the pest, because weed also is another factors that encourage pests, because they harbor pests. So we need to weed at the right time, and to avoid the competition of weed with plants, so that we can get the economic yield. Harvesting has to be done too, has to be timely, because all these activities, when they are done well and your crop are mature, you need to harvest it at the right time. Don't allow it to overstay on the farm, because if it's overtaken, the pests will still attack the crop while on feed. There are 2 stages of maturity of the crop. We have a physiological maturity and a botanical maturity. Physiological maturity, like okra, we don't allow it to be botanically mature before you harvest it if you want to consume it. But if you want to produce for seed, you can allow it to overstay on farm, so that that botanical maturity can be attained. But there are crops have different way of maturity that we are calling of. There are some crops that the quality can be improved after harvest. Whether if it is physiologically mature, you can harvest such crop, and when it is kept in the store, the quality will not be affected. We have many crops like that, like plantain, banana, all those things. And we have some that need to be botanically matured before they can be harvested, so that you can get the quality that you want. So this thing needs to be studied, and that is why I said the GAP encourages information sharing. We learn traditionally and scientifically. So there is school learning and good agricultural practices. So we learn all these things from one another. You must understand the crop that you want to embark on before you start producing. So there are also called something post-harvest care, which is very, very important. Post-harvest handling. After harvest, it has to pass through the processing, storage, transportation. All these things need to be taken into consideration when you want to, in the good agricultural practices. When you want to process, you have to process well. If water is required, the quality water is needed to process well so that there won't be any contamination. And the storage, there's a process by which the storage can be done. Use one store for a particular crop so that there won't be cross infestation. That is why at times when you store grains with maybe tubers, you will see the pest of the grain in the tubers, which is not supposed to be the host of that pest. So use a store for a product. And when something is stored in a bag, use the right bag. And don't stack the bag on top of one another so that there will be aeration in between the bags for the product to be stored well. There is something called aflatoxin, occurs as a result of when something is not well stored. The aspergillus will be able to be developed and it will cause aflatoxin. It's another problem that leads to rejection of our product in markets. So we need to dry the product well and at a acceptable level so that it will not encourage aflatoxin contamination. So storage, processing, transportation is very, very important too. Use a clean vehicle to transport your product. At times, because we don't have access to good transportation, we can model everything up. We can transport, maybe a vehicle is used to transport chemicals. When that chemical is offloaded and we transport our food, it's not acceptable. It's not good agricultural practices. Use a clean vehicle. If not that you have a particular vehicle designated for a particular product, but if you don't have that, use a clean vehicle to transport your product from one place to another. So these are some of few things that need to be done under the good agricultural practice for your product to be acceptable. When you do it well, you don't need, you'll get the quality food and you will access international market, local and international market without any problem. Farm inspection, because the topic is a good agricultural practice and farm inspection. The essence of farm inspection is to see that the good earlier mentioned are carried out well. So if it is done, there won't be any problem along.
Thank you. Produce well and you didn't store well, things might go wrong. If you didn't produce well, you cannot store well. So good agricultural practices is the whole processes that you engage in from your farm to your table. We have been told that for us to achieve good agricultural practice, we must try to adopt good agricultural practices. Integrated pest management is what he has advised that we do. Overdependence on chemical and pesticide is one of the major reasons why Nigeria agricultural products are being rejected in the international market. So today we have heard what we are supposed to do, starting from the seed to the planting, to irrigation, to fertilizer application, to harvesting, and to storage. So Dr. Solomon, we thank you for that presentation. All right. The next presentation is from the Wellhosa Farms Limited. We are calling on Bright Okumbo. Bright Okumbo is the managing director of Wellhosa Farms Limited. He is going to be taking us on glasshouse and hydroponics. Welcome to the podium, Bright Okumbo. A hand of applause for him, please. Mr. A.C. Anyalogo of the Nigeria Customs, who want to welcome you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. All protocols observed. I just want to give a brief presentation talking about greenhouse technology, most specifically hydroponic technology by Wells Sosa Greenhouse Farms, which is located in Edo State in Benin City. I have a short clip that I would like to just run very briefly just to give an overview, an idea of what we do, and I'll go into details of the potentials that we have as a country in exports and production of vegetables and fruits using hydroponic technology, a more accurate, protected form of agriculture that would give us the best yield and output in anything that we do. So if it's ready, please go ahead. Okay, before that kicks in, let me just go a little bit over what we do as a company or as a farm. The Wells Sosa Greenhouse Farm was established in 2018. Okay, I guess they're ready. Okay.
Incorporated under the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It has its corporate offices in Abuja and Benin. The main business focus of Wells Farms is the development of large-scale agricultural businesses involving the entire value chain, both for crops and livestock. The shareholders of Wells Farms are astute businessmen with a track record of very successful businesses, cutting across sectors such as oil and gas, power, banking and finance, real estate, and much more. Persons have proven themselves as titans in their respective endeavors. Nigeria is a country with a growing population, and to be able to feed such a population requires the greenhouse farming technology. As Bright Tokumbo, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, offers an amazing insight into their vision and mission, and even the choice of Benin City.
The vision of the Wells Sosa Greenhouse Farm is to be a world-class producer of agricultural products where we meet the demands and need over time, both locally and internationally. That will also help in the mission to achieve bringing jobs and empowering the rural communities where these greenhouses are established and developed, to take the youths out the streets, we take the women out of the streets, give them jobs, give them empowerment.
The original project, which commenced in October 2015, was a 20 hectares greenhouse in Benin City to produce 600 metric tons of vegetables for local, West Africa and European exports.
By November 2017, we started bringing in the first containers to establish the greenhouses, and the first 4 greenhouses was completed by April-May 2018. April-May of 2018, production started, and by September 2018, we had already started harvesting Roma tomatoes from the farm. So over time, we've been able to construct 14 greenhouses as we speak. So we have 14 greenhouses of different produce currently from phase 1, because this facility that you see is a facility that is going to, at the end of the day, when phase 1 and 2 is complete, have 28 greenhouses of 5,400 square meters each. That's almost 17 hectares of planting area for crops. So currently we have about 7.5 hectares right now constructed.
Early 2017, Wells Hosa Greenhouses Farm went in search of a partner in Mexico. The search settled on an agronomist, a man who had worked for 30 years in government, and interestingly, was the Minister for Agriculture in his country, Mexico, Jose Lugo Maldonado, a man of vast expertise in tropical agriculture. He owns Rainmart Agroproyectos.
Nigeria is one of the major consumer of tomatoes. So this is because we start to produce in tomatoes and to prove the varieties that we bring from abroad. So we start with the variety Bielsa from Spain, and we realize that this variety is good, we have a good quality, and then we start with another product. So now we are producing bell pepper, we are producing habanero pepper, we are producing cherry tomato, beef tomato, and another product that we are testing now.
Greenhouse technology is one thing, but the Wells Hosa greenhouse technology in their state-of-art farms is designed with hydroponic systems, a system that allows for water recirculation. In other words, a system that uses less water than the conventional agricultural systems. A unique technique that uses mineral-based solution to nourish the greenhouse farm produce in a soilless environment without any agricultural runoffs. Seeing the technology that Wells Hosa Greenhouse Farms is introducing and seeing the fine outcomes from the farms, it must then be appreciated that the mission of the Wells Hosa Farms is to transform agriculture in Nigeria by operating environmentally responsible farms that produce safe, nutritious, and delicious food. Wells Hosa Greenhouse Farms pursues local farming at a commercial scale all year round, thereby setting new standards, which is traceable through their managing all their greens from seed to package. Bright Tokumbo, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, gives an account of their procedures.
This is the end point for the sorting machine. So this is where the three different classes are separated. So we have the first, second, and third class on that end after finishing from the timing belt. From the size and the quality of the type of produce that we have here. These are Roma tomatoes. We also have the beef. Currently they are sorting the Roma tomatoes, but we pride ourselves in good quality tomatoes, and that is all that we do here. So the market has been very good, and even when we tried new products like the habanero pepper, which is a type of yellow pepper, the variety that has not been, that the market people are not familiar with here in Nigeria, they were a little bit skeptical to try it at first, but after trying it now, the demand is way high over there. We don't even have enough to give to them because they see the quality and they see the produce that is coming from the greenhouse, and they can differentiate and distinct between what is produced in the open field and the traditional methods as opposed to what we produce in the greenhouses. Thank you. Thank you. So that is just a summary of rundown of what we do in Benin, and just to add to that, from our partners from Mexico, using Mexico as a case study, in 2018, Mexico increased the hectares of greenhouses, hydroponic greenhouses, from 700 to about 30,000 greenhouses. So that's about 1,200 greenhouses that are being manufactured or that is being developed every year. So that is something that is possible in Nigeria as well. Just to give you, please, if you could run to the third slide. The fifth slide, please. Yes. So what is hydroponic technology? Basically, in a simple term, it is planting without soil. So like you could see from the video, there was a white substrate that was on the floor. That is a replacement for the soil. So what that does, given the sterility of that coconut fiber, it makes it a very, very good environment where the crops could grow, because we know in the typical soil you have your nutrients, you have your pests, you have your diseases. So what the substrate does in the first place is to eliminate those factors, giving you a clean slate where you can work with. But having that slate, you have to use the hydroponic technology, which was part of what you saw in the video as the control room, where the nutrients go into those plants. So it is mixed in the right proportion. So best way to put it is everything that needs to be in the soil, we provide through irrigation in form of micro and macronutrients. So we have the proportion of what we need for each crop. So if I'm growing tomatoes, I have the right proportion for it. If I'm growing bell peppers, I have the right proportion and requirement for it. So it's pretty much the best form of accurate and precise agriculture that you can do. This is a little bit different from all other forms of greenhouses, because hydroponic technology is different from other greenhouses that still plant in soil. The difference is, with hydroponic, you control 100% of each micro and micronutrients that goes into those crops to give you a maximum yield, which is makes your crops, one, durable, makes it have the right amounts and nutrients, and most especially trying to reduce pests and the amount of chemicals and agrochemicals, pesticides that are used for the production of these crops. So if you go on to the other slides, please. Continue. Yes. So this gives you an overview of our project, what we do. We have currently about 27 hectares in Edo State. Of that 27 hectares, it's proposed to have 28 greenhouses of 5,400 square meters each. Right now, we've finished the first phase of 14. Construction of the second phase has started. We already completed the first 4, so we're taking it all in phases. And the amount of jobs that could be created, or that we have created in operation since 2018, is over 250 direct jobs and employments, and also indirect jobs from the people that buy from us and redistribute in Lagos, in Edo State, in Delta, in Port Harcourt, and all the states and environs. So what is the potential for export for greenhouses? From my own first-hand experience, I started exporting in 2019. From December of 2019, with the help of the Nigerian Quarantine Services, we were able to work with DEFRA, work with other agencies in Europe and in the UK to see how our products could be exported because of the quality that it met internationally and standard-wise. So I would say Welsosa Greenhouse Farm was one of the first, and if you can correct me if I'm wrong, probably the only farm in Nigeria that has been able to export fresh peppers, fresh produce outside of the shores of Nigeria, which means it met all the requirements needed to be able to export to Europe and to the UK. And that is something that we would not have been able to achieve if not for the type of technology, the hydroponic technology, and the expertise that we've used in our production. That is what sets us apart from the open field method, which in most cases you have to apply a lot of pesticides, you have to apply a lot of chemicals to prevent those blemish and rots that you find in the crops. I have my stand outside. Some of you that must have visited, they even ask, they say, is this plastic? And I'm like, no, you can eat it. You know, it's not plastic. That is the kind of quality that you can get from that type of agriculture. So if you're looking at Nigeria as a country, why and what potentials do we have as a country to do this and do this well when it comes to export? If you go on to the other slides, if you don't mind. The next one. Yes. So these are just a study that gives you the type of crops and the potentials of tonnage that can be produced using hydroponic greenhouses. So if you're looking at habanero peppers with a potential yield of 10 kg per square meters, if you're looking at a yield for 100 tons per square meter as a price of $4, you're looking at about 20,000 in production. So in total, looking at all the crops from bell peppers, raspberry, eggplants, which each square meters and production available, if you're looking at allocating almost about 500 hectares of production, which is, to me, given the type of the availability of land that we have in Nigeria, dedicating 500 hectares, which could be phased out in a couple of years to production of peppers and bell peppers, habanero peppers that could be exported out of Nigeria. On the next slide, you can see the potential revenue having only 500 hectares and producing about 82,000 tons a year. You'll be looking at over $280 million in revenue. And today, with the dollar to Naira exchange rate, which is almost crashing up to 600, we know that is not good. But when we are able to diversify and have this type of inflow coming from just 500 hectares, so if we as a country could focus more on doing this type and adopting this type of hydroponic technology in our production to deviate a little bit from the traditional way we produce, I tell you, we will have a lot of inflow and forex that would come from export, because as we speak, I can't even meet the demand for what is being asked from my farm. You know, I have customers approaching me from everywhere asking, can you give me 5 tons a week? Can you give me 2 tons a week? Can you give me a ton a week of habanero peppers? And with my 14 now expanding to 18 greenhouse, I can't make that demand, you know. So this is what we need to look into as a country, and something that we need to invest in and also make available for people to go into as well. And also on the SWOT analysis, if you're looking at the challenges and problems that we have, of course, there's no business that doesn't have challenges. I would not focus much on the issue of most of the challenges, but what I want to point out is the most predominant problem that we face, those of us in 100% hydroponic, I'm not talking about those that still plant in the soil. For this technology, because the type of nutrients required has to be 100% provided by you, it is a type of fertilizer that is not manufactured in Nigeria. So you have to have them imported into the country. And that has been one of the big challenges that we've had since there's been a ban on the importation of fertilizer, because no company produces the type of fertilizers that is being used, because it has to be 100% soluble in water. So when you dissolve and make your mix, you are able to feed it directly to this crop. Other than that, I think other policies from the government has really been favorable, especially working with the Nigeria Agency for Quarantine Services. They've been very helpful, especially on the parts of your exports. So when I'm talking about the amount of money that can be made, the reason why hydroponic is good and different is you can precisely calculate what your yield will be if you have all the inputs necessary at the right time needed to do your production. So it is something that's very, very accurate, that before you even start planting and before the end of your cycle, you have a pretty much good idea of how much you're going to make when it comes to whatever is produced in terms of yield and all things being equal. So I used Mexico as a case study, who in the past few years, in over only 20 years, has developed their hydroponic technology to the point where on the case of, if you go to the next slide, for tomatoes, just revenue of export for tomatoes in Mexico alone is over $2.3 billion yearly, just from the export of tomatoes to other countries. So this is possible. The technology has been proven here in Nigeria. It's possible to do. For those of you that have visited my farm, or those that know about it, are always surprised to see that this type of farm with greenhouse and this type of technology exists in Nigeria. And I keep telling them, it does. It's greenhouse. I don't need soil to grow my crops. So it's not geographically restricted to, oh, you can only grow tomatoes in the north. You can only grow pepper in this. No. Those factors don't affect me, because once I have the greenhouse set up and the humidity, the rain, the water is provided from the irrigation, so rainfall has nothing to do with whatever plant I have in my greenhouses. The only thing I have to worry about is the radiation, which is sunshine, which comes naturally everywhere in Nigeria. So the only difference is in some places like Jos and the Mambile Plateaus, where you have a higher altitude, you could be able to grow even those crops like strawberries, flowers, and all of these things that is being grown and imported into the country. So the potential for greenhouse technology and the potential for revenue when it comes to foreign exchange is humongous. It's something that we have to look at as a country to see how we can take advantage of this opportunity to make it another source of revenue and forex for Nigeria as a whole and for the country in general. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bright from the Wellhoster Farms. Please, we want to ask you to put down your questions. After the next presentation, we'll be given opportunity to ask questions. We have been told what hydroponics and greenhouse is all about: farming without soil. A number of us will be, I don't know, but just start small, but aim big. You can get there. Nigeria will get there someday. Thank you very much, sir, for that presentation. We want to call on to the podium Mr. Alozie Uwechi. He's a director for Aquatic Resource Department of the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service. He'll be taking us on the steps and procedure for obtaining sanitary and phytosanitary certificate for fish and fish product export. Mr. Uwechi, please. Thank you. We can appreciate him with a round of applause as he comes.
Thank you. Still standing on the existing protocol. Yes, we've been talking about plant for long, but now I want to talk on fish and fisheries product. Some people said we had problems with agencies of government doing business in Nigeria. That is true. Like in fish business, we have the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Before the creation of the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service, the Fisheries Quarantine Department used to be in the Department of Fisheries Department. The job of quarantine is to make sure that any product that is going outside meets the quality or the standard of the importing country, and it is still the same thing vice versa. For the ones that are coming into Nigeria, we must make sure that it meets our own standard. So for us to export any product outside Nigeria, they have their different requirements. America has its own, Japan, China, and Europe, they have theirs. In 2005, fisheries products going to Europe were rejected. Why? The smoked fish. Why? Because it was found out that it has a chemical, benzopyrene, that came into the fish through the smoking material used for the fish. So they stopped our product. But before then, they now said they want to know how this chemical entered the fish. Sometimes people use wood, treated wood, to smoke fish. The smoke, as you are doing that, that smoke carries that chemical into the fish flesh. So when you're eating the fish, you are eating that chemical also. Just like if we are culturing fish, some people use drugs, antibiotics, to culture their fish. When you add antibiotics in your fish, when you are culturing the fish, the antibiotics is entering the flesh of the fish. Then when you are eating the fish, you also eat part of that antibiotics. When the plant person was talking, he said something about residual materials, residual chemicals. This chemical is found in that fish. Now, if you are sick and you go to the hospital, you are recommended to take antibiotics. The one in the fish that you have eaten, plus the one that the doctor gave you, it will be there. And it will, even instead of curing you, it will cause a problem. So let me start with the fisheries business. In Nigeria, we have 3 major areas of fisheries business. We have the industrial fisheries, the artisanal fisheries, and the aquaculture. The industrial fisheries are those that are using mechanized means to catch their fish. The trawling business, they go to the high sea to trawl fish. Then we have what we call category C, the importation of fish using reefer vessels and the reefer containers, bringing fish in bulk. That is importation. But my own targeted area today is for export. But I want to tell you the areas of fisheries business that we have in Nigeria. The second one is artisanal fisheries. Artisanal fisheries are those that use canoe, nets to fish, maybe going to the rivers or the coastal areas to fish. They don't use trawlers. Trawlers are a bit mechanized and cost more to do. Then you have the aquaculture, which is really what is really going on now. Today, Nigeria is the highest producer of catfish in Africa. So we are producing it like the coordinator that coordinated the last section. He said, we have to produce what we eat. That's the way you put it. Yes, we have it now. Then the excess of it, what do we do with the excess? We're supposed to export it. How do we export it? Maybe you add value to it. For the catfish, it is being smoked. Then if you smoke it without doing it properly, it will cause problem to the person that will consume it. That is why before 2005, Europe stopped exportation of smoked fish to their area because they noticed that it has this chemical. Now they said we should change our pattern of smoking. People now started using maybe gas and some other materials to do the smoking so that that benzochemical benzopyrene will be eliminated. Yes, some companies met the standard. What we normally do is to go to companies, advise them this is what to do, facilities, advise them this is what to do, how to do this smoking. If you can do that well, then you can export to Europe. In 2017 also, America banned our smoked fish. In short, we cannot send smoked fish to Europe or America. What we are really having is people sending just small quantity of, yes, we cannot eat everything. So what do? You have to export. And we're encouraging that export so that we can bring in a foreign exchange. So how do we do that export? Is to make sure that what we're exporting meets the standard of importing country. Most times the smoked fish is being eaten by our own people. But if you get sick eating this smoked fish abroad, you are going to use the country of where you are staying. You are going to use the hospital. So the country of import will not like such products to enter. They have customs at their point of entry, quarantine at their point of entry, making sure that these products meet their standard. So that is why they are not even eating our smoked fish. It's our black people that are eating the smoked fish. So they must make sure that, yes, you meet their inspection standard. You meet the way they're supposed to, if they are producing it, how it's supposed to be. That is what they normally advise us. Then we'll not tell our people here, this is what to do to be able to have this product meet such standard. In 2017, America banned our smoked fish. Up to today, we cannot send smoked fish to America because of these problems. But early this year, we were able to at least certify around 18 companies, sent all our analysis to America so that they can come and check these companies to see whether the inspection equivalence is what they are doing, so that the product can enter commercially to America. For now, it is you're only allowed to export 20 kg to America. Not only America, including other international award. That is for personal use. But I know some people are still doing it illegally, maybe one way or the other, entering these foreign countries. But when they get them, they seize them. Recently, in UK, that was about 2 months ago, somebody from Abuja here exported 200 kg of smoked fish. It was seized. So it was when they now told him the product is not having the correct certificate that he came to our office. So this type of training is to let you know how to go about meeting the required certification before you can go ahead to export your product. So that is why I'm saying for smoked fish now, in particular, you must have aquatic resources quarantine. We'll make sure that whatever you are, the environment you are going to have your pond is properly, has environmental impact assessment is done there, so that the water you are going to get from any source meets the correct standard. You don't just use any water to culture your fish. Some water can be seen to have a lot of heavy metals that if you culture the fish with it, those heavy metals will be seen in the flesh of the fish. You will be eating the fish, but the impact of it is not something that you get immediately. It can take years before the result. Today, a lot of us are suffering from cancer. Cancer is not inborn. It's as a result of accumulation of chemicals in our body that cause that. Where is the source of these chemicals coming from? Talking of particularly now for fish, it is also the same thing with other food products. So we have Federal Department of Fisheries involved in making sure that aquaculture fish is properly cultured. They monitor the farms. So it's expected that if you want to establish a fish farm, you must involve Federal Department of Fisheries to be there to register you with us. But when you now want to export your product outside, because the outside the country needs quarantine certificate, we work in conjunction with NAFDAC, FDF, and some other MDAs to make sure that this product meets the standard of various importing countries before giving you the final certificate, which we call health certificate or sanitary certificate. Sanitary certificate for animal products. You say phytosanitary certificate. That is what you normally hear. Phyto is for plant. Then you say sanitary for animal products. Then for processing facilities, like value addition of your product, the smoked fish. You have gotten the fish from the pond. Now you want to smoke. The smoking environment is not compulsory that it must be big, but let it has a flow that this fish, you got it from this farm. That farm that you are going to get the fish must be registered. If you are not the owner of the fish pond, must also be registered, so that in case of any problem, it can be traced to where the problem is coming from. Normally, we have what we call a documentation, or we use the word, we have HACCP application. HACCP application is an acronym, HACCP. H means a hazard, A means analysis, the first C means critical, then the second C means control, and then point. It's a quality processing procedure that if you follow it properly, the final product you are going to get will be free from hazards. What do I mean here? If you, let's say, you go to a farm, you don't know how the type of feed they use in feeding the fish. when you get such a product, your own area is just that feed. If it is improving your fish, you'll be taking note of all that. If you ever introduce another feed, at what point did you introduce that feed? If the fish is maybe changing size or changing color or having any problem, you will now be able to trace, it is because I introduced this fish, or is it because I did this type of something in the pond that made the fish to start either having a stunt growth or changing color or even dying. It's still the same thing to now, when you now take the fish, you want to smoke it, you'll be able to say, maybe it is because of this chemical or this feed that I use in feeding this fish that the fish color is not coming the way it's supposed to come out. That is HACCP, and then documentation. You are expected to really do proper documentation if you are rearing your product, and then if you are smoking your fish. There are certain areas that, let's take an example, you bring in a fish from the pond. You are going to cut them to the size you want. When you are cutting them, the table that you are going to use to cut them might be dirty. So contamination can come in through that table. If you don't take care, that contamination will be from the table. But it's expected that you take care of that table first before you now place your fish. Then the washing of the final product after gutting them. The water you are going to use to wash must come from a neat place, neat water. Because the water, if it is contaminated, maybe the contaminant will be from the water. So if you have taken note of all these things, you will be able to trace whatever problem you have at the end of that finished product. This is where we also have personal hygiene. In 2020, late 2020, when this COVID something started, China, frozen fish exported from Brazil to China was found to have a COVID. Frozen fish exported to China was found to have a COVID, because in China they have the facilities to be able to really check their product. So it cannot say that because it's a frozen, it will not contain COVID. But when they use their scanning machine, they were able to see that it has a COVID. That COVID came in through somebody that had that COVID infection as a handler. That is how that COVID came in. So in our own case, do we have such facilities to really monitor that? That is in Nigeria. Do we have such facility to really monitor that? Okay, thank you. Then at the end of this processing, you will need to take samples to a competent lab that will do the analysis, making sure that whatever residual something is free or is to the level of the level the importing country requires. Then at the end, after that, the packaging material you are going to use must also be something that is readable. That when you take the packaging material, when you look at the what is written, you will know the period the product was produced, how long it's going to stay before, that is the lifespan of the product. Maybe the nutritive components inside the product will be written. Then the registration of the facility will also be there, so that if there's any problem, you will just go straight to that registered number or code of that facility. The address, if you put it in your system, you'll be able to get the address. From there, you can go straight to the company to say, this is what this product came from your company, and it has this impact on somebody that ate it. Then at the end of the day, the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service will give you the health certificate. That is the result from the lab. Will now give you the health certificate, because that is the requirement of the importing country. Health certificate, that is what we call it, but it's something as a sanitary certificate. I did not mention the life side of it. We have ornamental fish also, which is the aquarium fish that we normally keep Maybe in your house, you watch them play, and as you're watching this fish play, sometimes most of us watch Nollywood. But when you watch these other animals play, if it's somebody that is having hypertension, because of the way they display, you will see yourself relaxing properly. I know for us here, we look at this as a luxury, but it's not luxury. Nigeria is exporting this ornamental fish to Europe, America, and it's really generating a lot of income for Nigeria. I also advise some of my younger ones to go into it. It's something that you can get from river or from streams. But there's a project we are trying to do with the research institutes to see how we can develop some of the seedlings of this ornamental fish so that it can be more attractive. The one we have, they are taking it outside, and the international body, they are developing the something, genetically modifying them to make it more fanciful. If you can do it here in Nigeria, that means you can make more money when we start exporting that product directly. That is fundamental fish. We have a lot of value that we can get from fisheries product, not only the live one, even the smoked one. Then again, we have a lot of catfish now. Somebody can even come out to see how either when you fillet a catfish, whether you can can it or fillet it and export it with a frozen, ice flakes, directly like that. It will be in a fresh form. Some people have come that they want to export frozen catfish from Nigeria to outside, to Saudi Arabia. But we want him to get us the requirement of that side so that we can be able to give him export permit. So at the end of all this things, that is how we can now give you the health certificate, which is equivalent to what you call the phytosanitary certificate. But you're also expected to pay a token that we call an export permit, which is just a token. That is all about the fisheries product export. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir, for that insight on fish farming and processing. We now call on our participants who have questions to ask. The first topic was on good agricultural practice and farm inspection. Okay? The second topic was on hydroponics and greenhouse. And the third topic that we've heard, the sanitary measures in fish farming. Please, can we have indications? Number one.
Good afternoon, everyone here. My name is Evangelist Peter Ikyo. I really appreciate Agricon for this conference. It has opened up our eyes and mind towards a lot of things which ordinarily some of us have not heard before. I want to ask a question concerning the last speaker. The reason why we are talking about quarantine is because of diseases that may accompany. I want to ask that what are
selling chili pepper from Uganda. Uganda have been able to do very, very, very well in relation to exporting this habanero pepper. So what is wrong with Nigeria? This is a big country. A tiny country such as Uganda exporting a lot of pepper worth millions of dollars across Europe. I'm not too sure of North America. I'm talking of Europe that I'm very familiar with. So we have to do something. I want to ask the gentleman, have you been to Uganda to do a study tour to see how they have been able to do in terms of chili pepper? And the second one is to the gentleman from quarantine. I just want to find out, because in terms of advising these fish exporters, you need to take into cognizance of some of the issues we have in Nigeria. You want to have a cold storage, there is no power. You know, logistics. moving goods. There's a certain way you have to move. You just mentioned the issue of catfish, frozen catfish to be exported. You need to have certain standard of transport to move frozen fish from one point to the other. What we see in the market is frozen fish being carried in regular vehicles. So in terms of, I know it's not your purview, but in terms of advising would-be fish exporters, what do you think the logistic issues will be? Thank you.
From the middle row, please, we'll take 2 questions. Middle row.
My name is Umar Sadiq. My concern, Agricon has given us a very good enlightenment for all FCT and other farmers. But we still have more that African can still come in to assist all Nigerian farmers. My own, I have 2 questions. The first one goes to the first topic we took on GAP, good agricultural practice. Sir, can farmers use both climate change smart agricultural practice in conjunction with GAP, good agricultural practice? That is one question. My second question goes to Agricon. On input, Nigerian farmers are suffering with fake inputs, such as seed. The big bowl is the fertilizer. The price, the Agricon should assist Nigerian farmers on this price of fertilizer. Because anywhere you are going, if you are approaching, for example, 90% of our agri extensions they can no longer go nearer to Nigerian farmers. The moment they go closer, they say, where's our fertilizer?
Sir, please go straight to the question.
So please, we need assistance on fake fertilizer product in the market and the practice and the price. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Jeju Ezra Kwaweso. My question is that the first speaker have mentioned application of pesticides. Then on my beans, how many times do I supposed to apply fertilizer on my beans? Sorry, pesticide. That's my question.
Okay, we invite Wehosa, please, to answer this question.
Thank you. Let me just take a quick note on the question regarding the Uganda peppers and exports to Europe. You're very right, sir, on your comment. Most of, excuse me, when we entered the export business of exporting our habanero peppers into Europe and the UK, one of our competitors was the Uganda pepper in the market. And it's very, very, very popular, especially with Nigerians, Asians, and those that really like spicy food. And when I got into the market, and of course, there's nothing that is rocket science about how you produce peppers if you're using hydroponic greenhouses like the type of technology that we use. That's why we were able to export peppers to Europe and to the UK, because of the quality that it met. Now, what are the challenges that Nigeria is having as a country to be able to pull off that volume of exports? That should be the question and what the country should focus on, because the Well Sosa Greenhouse Farm has proven that this is possible and we are already doing it. Now, what are the challenges? To export, you need the right inputs to be able to produce the right quality of produce. And like the other gentleman said about fertilizers, that is one of the biggest problems that we are having in Nigeria, having the right input to use. In some cases, when you find the inputs, is either they are fake or it's not. You need 50% calcium in calcium nitrate. They will tell you it's 50%, and you don't know that you only have 10 to 12% in there. If you go by that label and you do your mix, of course, your crops are not going to get the right nutrients. So that is the basis of the problem that we're having. And since currently we don't produce these water-soluble fertilizers here in Nigeria, the best way to go is to always have these available, even through maybe some strategic partners that will have the right quality, most importantly, available at the right time. If Nigeria is able to invest in hydroponic technology and build hectares of greenhouses all around this country to serve the communities where it is, one, we're going to take jobs. We're going to provide a lot of jobs for the youths. We're going to provide a lot of jobs for the communities. And not to underestimate the amount of foreign returns and funds in US dollars, euros, and pounds that is going to come as a return of export. This has been proven here. We can do it. We just need the country to put the right policies in place and also have the right, whether it's private sector or government sector, to invest in this. Because to do this costs a lot of money to invest and do it right, but the return on your investment is totally what's the investment. And the gentleman that also asked about the gap, when you already having this type of technology, you meet the good agricultural processes, and all of your practices that you do already meets international standards. So it becomes very easy for your farm or your facility to be approved for exportation, to be approved to get its product into these countries, just the way the Uganda peppers have dominated Europe and the UK. So it's possible for us to do. We just have to get our acts right.
Thank you. The next response from Mr. Lozier.
Yeah. The first question is on what is quarantine doing to prevent bad agricultural products entering the country? That's the first question. Yes, quarantine service there. Normally, before any product comes in, the importer need to apply that you are bringing such a product from whatever country. That is agricultural product, semi-processed, not processed product. Anything processed is for NAFDAC, and there may be any other MDA. But any semi-processed or unprocessed agriculture meat that before. Freezing, we have different types of the one that you within 8 hours, it can still be in the same form. You also mentioned some trucks, but what you normally see from our seaport is bad, what do you call it? Something like more buses. That's what they use in carrying the product. It's not supposed to be. But when you accost them, they say, what you're supposed to use is also the way using a refrigerated truck.
Just to round up briefly on my own section, I don't know if there's any question or if I've attended to everything necessary, but I have a flight to catch, so I have to be leaving in a little bit. But I just wanted the product, if you could zoom in a little bit, to see what we produce. Our stands is back there. So this is all done here in Nigeria, in Edo State. So to address that question again, we can do this. It's already proven. I've been doing this since 2018. So we just need to invest in this type of agriculture, because agriculture, like we know, technology has gone these days. A couple of years back, you didn't have a cell phone. You know, now you have your cell phone that does everything that you can do, from your TV to your computer to everything. So that is how agriculture is still moving as well. So gone are the days where you have to be 100% focused on the traditional type of agriculture without implementing technology. Today we have sensors, technologies that will tell you what type of, what your humidity is, what amount of water you need to give to your crops to get the desired output and yield, because at the end of the day, it's all about production, what you bring out. That is what matters. And there's different type of technology that can give you the best output and yield depending on what crop that you decide to produce. So this is very possible. It's been proven. We just need to look inward as a country and focus our energy on what is most important in this country, as opposed to some things that are not, because everybody needs to eat. We must feed, and as long as we live on this earth, we must eat. So agriculture and protected agriculture in form of hydroponic is one of the best ways to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wahosa, for that. We want to take 2 last questions from the last row who are not able to capture the. While he takes his leave, no, we still have more questions, please.
Okay. Thank you. I want to answer the questions that pertain to my presentation. The first one is climate smart agriculture allowed and good agricultural practices. I say yes, it's encouraged, because climate change today has caused emerging pests in a place where those pests have never been observed. So the knowledge of climate will make farmers to plant and escape life cycle of a particular pest in that area. In fact, you are aware that sorghum variety, the variety that is grown in Guinea savanna, is different from the one that can be grown in Sudan savanna of Nigeria vegetation. This is because of climate difference. So the knowledge of climate change is very, very important if you want to get the expected yield, and is allowed, is encouraged in a good agricultural practice. It has nothing to do with the hazard or the contamination in crop production. The second one is the input, which my colleagues has answered. The input is beyond our jurisdiction. We have a SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria, that maintains standard. And we have to be very wise and know the real thing, because if a fake input is applied, there's no way you can get the expected results, the good yield. So you must make sure that you use the genuine inputs in order to get the correct output. There are some chemicals that are banned. You have to consult NAFDAC to know those that are in vogue, so that you can use them. When you consult our office, Nigeria Granting Service will tell you the type of chemical that can be used, which does not even have much residues in food when it is applied. And the time interval will be explained, because the time interval is very, very important. It's very crucial. And it depends, when we inspect the farm, it depends on the prevalence of the pest in that farm before we can repeat the chemical. It's not necessary that we should be repeating it, either monthly or a particular period. It depends on prevalence. We use chemical when other methods have failed. So inorganic chemical is just the last resort. When the cultural method, other pest management are not sought. So the last one here is how many times can we apply pesticide? So I've answered that one. Those are the questions that were asked concerning my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon. While you leave the stage with Mr. Alozie, we want to welcome to the podium the Controller of Customs. He is an expert in trade facilitation. We want to call on the podium Controller Anthony Ayalogo to give us his presentation. Thank you. Please, with a round of applause, let's welcome Controller Anthony.
Good afternoon, everyone. Standing on existing protocol, I am sorry to have come at this time, and I want to make sure that I deliver my paper in the shortest possible time. in a way that you all will appreciate and also understand the topic. Let me, since I'm safe distance, let me remove my face mask so that I can talk very well. First of all, I must explain here that there are no special procedures for export of agricultural products yet in Nigeria. So I have actually chosen the general export procedure in order to deliver this lecture. At the end of it, I will also want to explain how agriculture fits in this. I don't know what lectures have come before now, but generally, I just want to flash through this. I don't want to take your time. I want to explain this, like I said, in a place, what you can firstly understand, the basic principle of export, or through the trade, through the border in Nigeria. Now, the first thing there is that when you want to export out of this country, your inspection agents must have, if you are exporting a non-oil product, it will have to be inspected by pre-inspection agents. These are agents that have been placed in order to regulate value, quality, and quantity of your exports. You must have an NSP form, and that NSP form must be gotten from your bank, and it must be given prior to your loading, and that the bank will also receive these forms and will give it a number, and so that we can account for what you have exported. Again, the exporter must have a domiciliary account. That means that in order to a place to get in the proceeds from the export. And the NSP form will take 6 months. So when you get an NSP form, you are supposed to export within 6 months. And once this NSP form is governed and is sent to the pre-inspection agents, you have what we call a request for information, meaning that you will need to communicate with the pre-inspection agents on this platform that is made digital now, and before it was manual, where you can request for time and place of the inspection. This is very important, and this request for information will have to give you, like I said, the time for this inspection. And again, these NSP forms are distributed to different banks, so they get to know all the details about this export. And then you have what we call the clean certificate of inspection that is given by the pre-inspection agents, telling us, like I said, all the details about quality, quantity, and of the product to be inspected. Then, and it's also distributed, as you see on the board. I don't know who is handling this? Okay. I don't know. Okay. I should be looking at that. I just want to make sure that I don't bug you with all the details there, because I expect the secretariat to send it out to all invitees through their emails so they can have details of those export procedures. Now, when this thing is done, we also talk about if there is a rejection of this, maybe the pre-inspection agent rejects, finds that the value or quality is not in conformity, they will also issue what we call non-negotiable certificate of inspection, which also will inform you about what areas you have deficiency on. I want to say that after all this is done, the regulatory agencies that have come here to speak, I was here when the quarantine spoke, customs will not release the product for export except regulatory agencies have certified that they are true for exports. If they are not, there will be the customs will not approve that export. It will not be loaded because we must get certifications that these imports are actually exportable. And the basis of these exports are within the range of the regulatory agencies. So, what is the duties of customs in exports? Our duty is to make sure that what is exported is accounted, what is exported meets with the regulatory requirements, and that we take records of the value and quantity of export. Well, customs is the lead agency in import and export, meaning that when customs delay in the process of your export, it may not be as a result of customs delay particularly. It may be as a result of some regulatory agencies not processing their approvals in time. I must tell you that the customs have gone digital. Our export and import procedures are paperless, meaning that we only deal with regulatory agents that are also digital, and their processes are also like ours. It will be difficult for an agency that's involved in export to deal with us on paper where we actually don't have a place to put it in our system. Like I was introduced, I am the controller trade facilitation. My duties are just two things: reduce the time and reduce the cost. We in customs believe that these two aspects are very good in trade across the border. And that is why we have utmostly digitalized. Nigeria Customs has one of the best systems in procedures of import and export in the whole of Africa. Now, what do we want to achieve by this? We want to make sure that the time for export, the time for import, the cost for import are reduced drastically. I witnessed this presentation by the man who analyzed the export potentials of what they call it? Yes, don't mind me, I may not be able to pick everything. It was so beautiful. If you have a very good cost in production, it could be diminished if there is no trade facilitation of export of this product. It means that if this thing cannot be exported in time and in cost, the whole gains will be lost at the time of export. So it's very important that not only producing it, but also in export, it should be given that. We have tried as much as possible to have a service level agreement with other regulatory agencies to see that the quality infrastructure of our exports is so structured in the way that it is accepted outside the country. We have the cause to many times find our products that have been exported outside this country being repatriated back to Nigeria. The big question here is, if beans is rejected in UK, and as the exporter comes to custom and said, I want to repatriate these beans, we go back to the regulatory agency and say, what is your advice? And they say they should bring it. What has been declared unfit for human consumption in UK is being brought back to us. Do we accept it? Is it trade facilitation to accept it? It's a big question. Those who rejected it are seeing you taking it back into your own market and eating that beans that they said is unwholesome. Do you think that next time you bring a beans to that place, they will take it? It's a question I'm asking in this place. It's very important. So our quality infrastructure is there, but it is not accepted abroad. That is why all those exports that were rejected pass through our regulatory agencies. Somebody somewhere signed that beans as wholesome. Somebody somewhere gave it a certificate before we accepted it to go out. Why was it rejected? These are the kind of things we are going to look at. It's not about our quality infrastructure. It's the acceptance of our quality infrastructures outside this country, so that the embarrassment of bringing back unwholesome things we have exported back to the country will be reduced. Sometimes it's a big decision to take. Do we accept that have been rejected outside back to Nigeria? We are in a preferential trade agreement in ECOWAS. It's called the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, meaning that goods that go within this country enter our destination country free duty. Again, we are just started after the African Continental Free Trade Area. What is the implication of this, especially to the export? What do we gain as Nigerians entering into this trade facilitation agreement? Now, if we have everything good within production, and we cannot reduce the cost and the time, we shall lose in the market. That single market that's made for everyone, if you enter it with the high cost of trade across the border, where we, customs and other regulatory agencies, control, if we cannot give you that time and that cost in exports, you will lose in that place. And that's what we are looking at, to say that we must reduce the cost of trade across the border, not only for export, but for the import, and most especially of those raw materials that you use in your agricultural process. There must be a specific policy to ensure that agriculture is given a procedure. And that procedure will pass you in a green lane in time and in costs. And in so doing, trade across the border will be reduced in time and cost, and Nigeria will be able to compete in the international arena with other countries. And that is only when Nigerian exporters, most especially in agriculture, shall fit into the value chain of agriculture in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that insight on export procedures. We want to call onto the stage Dr. Charles Annie. Dr. Charles Annie is going to take us on PEST, the travelers without passports or visa. Dr. Charles Annie is a plant pathologist by profession. He also has years of experience in inspection and certification. Please, with a round of applause, let's welcome Dr. Charles Annie. You're welcome, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll just key into the already established protocols. All what we have been hearing, all what we have been talking about is to end hunger. And we can only end hunger if we do the right things at the right time. Produce your food. Okay, I think I'll follow my brother because I'm now safe. You know, when you produce, when you plant, you choose your site, very good site for agriculture, except for the hydroponic cultivation. That is where at least 90% is secured from pests. And these pests we are talking about, they travel long distances. They don't want your passport. They don't even request for passport. They don't come to embassy to ask for visa. They just go where they want to go. But what we do our best to curtail their movement. One of us asked that question, what we do for export, do we do it for import? Before the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service grant you that permit to import any plant material, they do what we call pest risk analysis. That pest risk analysis will now determine the pest that is prevalent in the country where you want to bring in those your plants or plant products from, and compare them with the ones we already have here. If the risk of bringing more to us is acceptable, that permit will be granted. All the certification procedures they do when you are taking your product out of Nigeria is to confirm from the importing country, because the importing country must have given you their own requirements. That is what the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service will follow to grant you or to do your certification for your export. Now, coming to this pest we are talking about. No, go back to the first one. What is pest? We all know as agriculturists, as farmers, anything that destroys our crop. Even cow is a pest. But on real agricultural terms, we want to look at what are these pests. There are a lot of them that are already here, and we do our best to prevent those that are not here coming in. We have more than 420 plant pests all over the world that are not yet here in Nigeria. Just the few that have maybe in one way or the other managed to escape into Nigeria, travel to Nigeria. That is why we are having problems of export. Because no country wants you to bring anything that is associated with such pest to them. And that is why you need to control your pest. How do you control? It's either you control to prevent the pest becoming troublesome, you keep it. Just if they are trying to explode, you say no, just remain where you are. Or you eradicate. When you eradicate, that means that pest is no more here or within your farm environment. And when do you control? You control when that pest has gotten to a level that is no longer acceptable. That is what the first presenter talked about, using chemical or pesticide only when it is necessary. Don't just apply because you want to apply. So what are at the end of this, let us now look at those pests that eventually have entered into Nigeria. We didn't invite them. They just came in. They become unwanted neighbors. But we can't do without them. They are here. The first one will be fall armyworm. Please control. Slice. Okay. That's fall armyworm. We may wonder why is army associated with that pest. We regard it as army without barrack, because every army formation is regimented. They are in a barrack, confined into a place. But this worm, though regarded as army worm, they don't have any barrack. They travel without passport. This particular fall army worm, very destructive. We may see them. We may be saying, I've been seeing this. No, most times I see them in vegetables. No, this one is a special species that goes after maize, cotton, sugarcane, mostly grass family. About 27 families of that, and affect more than 107 grain plants. Very invasive in nature. Anywhere it goes, it has the capability of destroying 25 acres of land within a plant. The name, why this particular pest is so dangerous is it doesn't perch maybe the undergrowth or just on the leaf. It perches and enters the wall of maize. So definitely you will not see, except you have the knowledge that that is where they are, and then open maybe 1 or 2 walls of your maize to check. Outside that, they will be there. You only decide to do with them when you have now seen them destroying your whole farm. But when you regularly check, you'll be able to, at least, if you see the eggs, and the eggs are not singular, they normally lay egg in clusters. Once you notice that, then you apply pesticide. And we always recommend you use biopesticide. It is the biopesticide that will degrade without leaving any residue. Inorganic pesticide will always degrade and leave residues. And once that residue level is above the level acceptable in the international market, you cannot export your material. Having said that, is that Mr. Fruit fly, and the best way to do it, don't allow them to come in. Set traps using attractive pheromones. Once the female is attracted, all the male around will come to that trap. That is just the best way to control it. If you spray pesticide from today till tomorrow, they will still be there. Just set few traps. The traps will get them all. Okay. Good. What happened is the female will, when it pierces hole into your fruit, it lays egg inside the fruit. And before coming out, it is only the larva that will now come out from the fruit. So you will not know when the eggs are there until maybe you start seeing fruit dropping. That is to tell you now that they are there. And before then, there is nothing you can do. Like I said, the best thing to do is to attract them using traps. Go ahead. Just go ahead. That's larva coming out of a fruit. That's mango. And when you break, you see a lot of them inside the fruit. Then at a point, it will form a cocoon and will be there until when it becomes, and those cocoons will be on the ground. They bury themselves inside the ground. until when it's time for them to come out. They come out and that's the big man coming out. From there, it flies off to somewhere else. That's a tree, a citrus tree with droppings. That is a trap. That's the only best way to control that. Go ahead. Now another one is papaya mealybug. If you walk around, you see trees of pawpaw. Pawpaw, that's papaya. You see as if a woman delivered around there, and maybe they were using powder to spray, because everything will be covered with powder. That is mealybug. And nothing will come out of that pawpaw tree, because everything will go bad. You cannot even consume it, you that produced it, not to talk about selling. Even if you succeed in selling it in Nigeria, you cannot sell it across the border, because no country will accept that. So in all this, all what we are trying to do is to be sure we stop for tropical agriculture, IITA, and other relevant agencies. The Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service have been able to curtail the spread of most of these pests to just a point, maybe where the first were noticed. One of them is banana bunchy top disease. Most of us only hear about it. We don't know it because we have not seen it. Because we were able to contain them just at where they were first noticed. That of banana bunchy top was noticed in a place called Idelogun in Ogun State. Coincidentally, close to that area is where we are having problem with pineapple again. But maybe that of pineapple too will be curtailed. So that of bunchy top, once it comes, most times, as you see that those plants are more than 5 years, they will remain like that. They will not grow beyond there. If the virus attack when the plant is already fully grown, no production. One good thing about that pest, or the carrier, the vector that takes the disease, the virus across, it takes that vector more than a year to cover 10 meters. So it's always easy to curtail. That was why it was very easy, but they are still there. But they are restricted to that locality. So in all, good agricultural practices is the answer. Always follow the guidelines of those given the mandate to regulate what you produce, how you produce them, and how you prepare them for either local market or international market. When you do that, you will always have your products going. Yesterday, we are told about yam export, which everybody believes yam is not being exported. Yam continuously go out of this country. That is only for those who listen and obey. When you listen and you obey and you confirm yourself within the framework of the laws and do the right thing, you will always succeed. There is no point investing in 200 hectares of land, you produce, at the end of the day, you don't make any gain out of it. It's better you cultivate 10 hectares, follow the procedures. It will be more beneficial. Thank you.
Please, another round of applause for Dr. Charles Onyani. Thank you so much, sir, for that informative presentation on emerging pests. We have been told that these are quarantine pests, and we thank God that the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service are doing a lot to see that these pests don't ravage our fields. Yeah, we want to welcome in our midst the Director General of the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service, Dr. Vincent Isegbe. You're welcome, sir. Next in line for the presentation is a presentation from Dr. Joseph Onyeka. Dr. Joseph Onyeka is of the National Root Crop Research Institute, Umodike. We welcome him on stage. Please, very quickly, we want to listen to this announcement. Someone had a missing item yesterday. Please help us communicate a missing item. A participant, Barrister Chika, mistakenly forgot her 2019 law report with a neighbor in this hall yesterday during the conference. Please, if you come across that conference, we kindly ask you to return it to the Secretariat. Thank you. You're welcome, though.
Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, house. This house is so quiet. Do we have farmers in the house? Do we have farmers in the house? No farmer. Great farmer. No farmer. Great farmer. Please permit me to stand on the existing protocol. I'll be making my presentation. Initially, when I was sitting down, I was wondering if it's going to fit properly to this section, because we are talking about export. And then I've listened to some technical talk. But I actually made up my mind that since we are going to be speaking mostly to farmers, I should make it more farmer-friendly. And so, even though I'm from the National Root Crop Research Institute, I'm the director in charge of biotechnology and product development, I will not be making any so technical presentation this afternoon. I'll be making it look farmer-friendly. And so my topic, as you can see, is an innovative approach to the challenges of root and tuber crop seed business, the cassava case study. I want you to believe that everyone here can fit into what we are going to discuss right now. If you have just 2 hectares of land, you can become a businessman from what we are going to discuss, as you are going to see it. The cassava value chain is made up of different stages. And in the screen, you will see from the breeder seed, what we call the pre-basic seed, to the basic seed, to the commercial seed, and then to the farmer's own seed. Now, across this value chain, there is potential to make money in every one of them. We've tried to refine it to language that you are going to be familiar with, which is breeder seed, foundation seed, commercial seed, and then the farmer seed. The idea before now is that every one of these, especially the breeder seed and foundation seed, is the prerequisite of the research institute. And because of that, root and tuber crop seed system has been poorly developed, but we are moving forward to make it a business, and that's why we want to see how can we mitigate the challenges hindering it. So what are the challenges? Let me give you the opportunity you have in cassava seed business, and this may be mind-blowing, but this is based on real-field research. Of course, you know that Nigeria is the world's largest producer of cassava. We actually account for over 20% of the global market. As of today, I'm sure we must have been approaching 30% of the global market. Over 59 million metric tons being produced annually, and this occur in about 407 million this requires about 407 million bundles of cassava seed. Now, what is the implication of this? For those of you that have attempted to buy cassava, you pay between 1,500 to 2,000 naira per bundle, depending on the variety. But we are saying conservatively, if you are going with 1,000 naira per bundle, and we need about 407 million bundles across Nigeria annually, just do the mathematics. That will be giving us, conservatively, over 400 billion business opportunity. You will wonder, is this real? Because we are talking about clonally propagated crop, where you can pick what you have from your farm and move back and replant. But that is why our yield has consistently been low. And so we are looking at a situation where you need, at least within 2 years, go back to the pure source of seed and get another quality seed that will improve your yield. So how do we do this? We looked at key problems to cassava seed business. What are the key problems? Low adoption rate of improved varieties. I think you are too fast for me. The use of low yield and susceptible varieties to disease. Correct, thank you. The weak seed system. The low multiplication ratio of cassava seed. Cassava seed are bulky. People say, oh, and so it's perishable. You can't keep it. If you want the seed that we plant 1,000 hectares, how many trailers will you do? There's no market assurance. Why do you want me to go into it? Who will buy it from me? When people are going to replant their own stems. Today we don't have Dr. Philip Ojo, the DG of NASC here. But you know that even when you sell your own seed, you are actually committing a crime. The Nigerian seed law has penalty for that. You are not supposed to sell any seed that is not certified. And so all we are doing, and all I'm going to be showing you, is what we have been able to do in collaboration with the Nigeria Agricultural Seed Council and other stakeholders. So what we decided to do is to see, these are the problems facing cassava seed businesses. So how can we handle them, even if we cannot handle all of them? You were here yesterday when our distinguished senator, the chairman Senate Committee on Agriculture, Senator Abdullahi, said that even if you can't start big, start from anywhere you can. Your own may just be to repackage. And so I have 6 blocks there. We may not be able to attend to 6 of them, but we believe that if we can attend to 3, 4, we will be advancing the seed business and allowing people to harness this potential that has not been tapped into. So what did we do? The first thing we did is improving the weak cassava seed system. Next slide, please. How do we do this? We embarked on organization of cassava seed entrepreneurs. I'm sure that some of you may have heard that before, cassava seed entrepreneur. When we started 5 years ago, we called them village seed entrepreneur. But within the past 5 years, we realized that they are not just village seed producers, they are actually entrepreneurs, so we call them cassava seed entrepreneur. So what does that mean? Here are people that they are farmers, like the people sitting in the house. Some of them grow cassava before, but we try to make them to know that if you devote a certain portion of your land to grow cassava, mainly for the stem, you have a share of the market opportunity. And so how do we do this? We started by organizing them, training them. And as of today, we have over 500 of them across Nigeria. They are people that produce cassava for the purpose of selling the stem, what we call the seed. And we have mind-blowing testimonies. There's a man that we always like showing his picture. I'm not showing it today. This man went into this business and he took a picture of his house. And 5 years after, he built a new house and took a picture of it. And so his argument is that from here, I've been able to pay my children's school fees and I've been able to change my accommodation. And I think that's the type of testimony we want to hear. If we can change the life of the average Nigeria out there by empowering them economically, we will be doing the right thing. So what do we do here? These pictures you are seeing are some of our cassava seed entrepreneurs. We actually do this work in partnership with International Institute of Tropical Agriculture and the Catholic Relief Services. And then the Catholic Relief Services is manning the Benue and Kogi State, while NRCRI, where I'm from, we coordinate Abia, Akwa Ibom, Imo, and then some other Niger Delta states that are joining us. And these are the number of seed entrepreneurs that have been producing and selling cassava seed. Of course, eventually we are going to use the root, but these people grow seed purely for sale. Now, again, we feel that for them to excel, they need to be organized. They need to work as a team. It's interesting that since yesterday we've been hearing form a group, to access a loan, form a group, to access an input, form a group. So what we did for these seed entrepreneurs is to organize them into cooperative and get them to register with the appropriate authority within their state. And so we train them on good agronomic practices that we've been hearing, the basic pests and diseases of cassava, how to mitigate them. And then we got them to register. The example you saw in the last slide is the sample of their registration certificate and bylaw that govern them. And this has enabled them to come up as a group to be able to access other facilities. Then again, doing like that, we realize that when you have the seed entrepreneurs, they need to get what we call the early generation seed. That's the category of the breeder seed and the foundation seed. So before now, if you need to get the breeder seed, you go to the breeding institution, the National Root Crop Research Institute, or you go to International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. But you know that this type of collecting seed freely from the breeding institution cannot help business. And so we feel that we must commercialize the early generation seed system. And to do this, you cannot leave it in the hand of the government institute because, as we all know, the government is not a good businessman. So what did we do? We embarked on setting up 2 early generation seed companies. The first one is Umudike Seed, and then the ITA Go Seed. What happened here is that the breeding institutes were encouraged to set up spin-off companies that will handle the production of early generation seed as business. And the 2 companies have been registered with Corporate Affairs Commission. ITA Go Seed is a limited liability company, while the Umudike Seed is a limited by grantee company. And these 2 companies have been certified and authorized by the National Agricultural Seed Council to produce breeder and foundation seed. And before they even embarked on their business, we consulted a firm who developed workable business plan, actionable business plan with target delivery within the next 5 years. And this is what these 2 companies are running on now. So constantly they've been producing. And in our stand here, since yesterday, some of you must have met some staff of Umudike Seed that are in this meeting. Now, this early generation seed company need to be independent. I work for the federal government of Nigeria, but this company need to be independent. So what we did was, in addition to registering them, we set up independent board, governing board,